Our real mission behind Caperuza is fighting for gender equality and really looking at all the ways we can break down the barriers to total gender equality. And that's obviously a huge topic, and there's so much to do there. Well, my name's Pierre. I'm from South Africa, and that's where I am at the moment. But I really found my place in the world in a small city in Argentina, which is where I've been based for the last 10 years. My background is in economics, and currently I'm applying that to long-term predictive analytics for companies. I'm an adventurer. I think I do enjoy a good adventure. I do enjoy a good expedition or adventures of any sort. And that's what's also led me to start our social business, which is called Caperuza. Where we've chosen to start is in the area of gender-based violence. And so what we're looking at now, especially in the context of Argentina, but the more we investigate, the more we realize the context of Argentina is the context of the world to one extent or another. And I think this topic's really coming to the fore as people realizing that it's a real problem everywhere, that it's not the same to go out into the street, into a car, into a place as a man or as a woman or as another gender identity. It changes things. And so we really see this very viscerally in Argentina, and how either the occurrence of violence or even just the perceived threat of violence changes how we interact with the world. And that is absolutely linked to equality and equality of opportunity. And I think what really sparked this for me was, among other things, but what really made it hit home, what I was talking to my wife one day, and it just came up in conversation that she, in the small desert town where we live, in the middle of the day, if she took a taxi, she was aware of the driver, and she was aware she'd take photos of the number plate of the car and send it to somebody. And beyond just the shock of realizing that there was a perceived threat to her in the place we live, it was also, I then stopped and went, okay, well, what do I do when I get into a taxi? You know, I open the door, get in, good morning, I sit down, and my mind goes to maybe reflecting on our Argonauts Trust Circle. It goes on maybe the last meeting I had with my team. It goes to maybe the next presentation I have, and I'm working on how I can think about that. It goes to a problem at work and I'm solving it in my head. Or even better, it just goes nowhere. And I'm resting and I'm re-energizing and I'm relaxing. And then I get to work or to wherever I'm going in a better state, a more productive state, a happier state. And I'm better. And yet her experience of that is awareness, attentiveness, fear, action, communication. All her energies are focused on the perceived, and that just for me was a real wrench to the gut of, this is a serious problem. Because not only is a quality of life of, you know, how much you actually enjoy your life, but how do you go to a work interview there, like in that state? And then actually talking in our research, we found a lot of women would, it's common practice when they went for a work interview to kind of go along with friends to the door or let them know. And because of the threat, and we sort of asked why, and they were like, well, I'm going into a room with 3, 4, 5 men, or one, alone behind closed doors. You know, I don't feel comfortable. So that's the state you're going into a job interview in. And so the injustice and difficulty of life just from the physical violence threat there is enough. But add on top of that the knock-on effects that that's having to opportunity and growth and equality, and it's a huge problem. We're very aware that applications don't solve the world. They can certainly help in many aspects, but we don't define ourselves as a tech company at all. This is one product, one service, one stepping stone to a bigger solution. The basic functionality of that is that when you go out, you upload your plans, who you're going with, where you're going. It's all linked to your contacts, to maps, and then you establish a trust circle. So you have your trust circle of people that then you volunteer to be aware of what you're doing if you choose so. So that's quite a nice functionality, is that you can send all of this information to them immediately if you want to, so they can track your movements, or you can update them on what you're doing. But you can also keep that private, so that only in the case of an emergency does that then publish, or does that then get sent out to your trust circle, and they know what you're doing, because that's a common thing. You don't want people knowing everything you do in your life, but if something goes wrong, you certainly want them to know what's happened, where you've been, what context you were in, who you were with. And so we have a functionality there where it's either a manual alert button that sends that out, or an automatic one. So you set a predetermined time of when you're going to be home, and if you don't deactivate the activity before then it automatically sends out. So that's how we're approaching this at the moment, and at the stage of really just product testing, market testing. We do know what we're doing, and we don't know what we're doing, which is probably true for most people. But we're developing wonderful conversations, wonderful communities around this. I have strong faith in the technical solutions that are coming up and what we've got to offer. But where we are really struggling is how do you turn this into a sustainable business? What's the right business model for this? How do we not replace gender inequality with economic inequality, or rather solve gender inequality with economic inequality, by having to charge high or any fees for this? We would love anybody from the Argonaut community to get involved in whatever capacity they feel drawn to and passionate about. I mean, we need help with organizational side. We need help with ideas. We need help with looking at the problem or dynamics in other parts of the world or other communities. We need help with the funding models. I mean, currently I fund this out of my pocket, which I can do for now, but that's certainly not sustainable. So we need to solve that problem. We need to solve the business relationships problems. I mean, we would love to have companies on board, supporting this for their employees, for their clients, for their communities, for example. There's a whole world of solutions that we still need to solve. And if anyone would like to get involved in that challenge, that would be amazing. I think one of my great passions, and answering a question about what can we create together as a community, is how do we fix the system, or how do we create a way that business becomes about communities? And I believe so strongly in the vehicle of business. I think the invention of a autonomous business and its efficiency and its innovation and its ability to bring things together is incredible. But now, how do we use that to create the world we want to live in, rather than this constant and I think ridiculous tension between social needs and business needs? It just makes no sense to me. I mean, we're sitting on this thing called business and the business model and the business entity that is one of the most amazing tools we have ever invented as humankind. And yet we've done it in a way that creates tension between what we need in business and what we need as humans. Beyond the fact that as humans, we need products and them to be distributed, but in terms of our personal humanity, community needs, we've created this tension. Why? Surely we're sitting on this incredible tool, on this incredible invention. Let's use it. Let's steer it towards making the world around us the place we want to live, in terms of social equality, in terms of safety, in terms of environmental richness. I mean, we know what we want as a humanity. Let's use what we've got to create it and break this tension. So I think if that's our one challenge, our one big challenge as humanity and as the generation, whatever generation you're in now, but as this stage of the human evolution, I think that's the one we've got to crack. That's what, and I think we can. I don't think it's that difficult. I really don't. And I think for me personally, this ties in to just what I love about the Argonaut community on a personal level and being involved is, it's like we create environments or communities around us, but they're so linked. If we are creating them, they're so linked to our own biases and our own confirmation biases and our own bubbles. And for me, being part of the Argonauts has really allowed me to almost roll the dice on that and be like, well, let me go into a space and connect with a community that I don't create, that I'm not building, that I'm not seeking individuals, rather let that happen around me organically. And I find the richness of that and the diversity and the diversity in people, but then the commonality of thought and purpose and desire at the end of the day to make the world around us a little bit better than it is. Very exciting. So that's definitely what draws me here. And I've really, really enjoyed the process so far. I think I've been involved for just under a year and I'm loving it.